Good morning. It is Thursday the 16th. We'll take a look at the drought situation today. See how much the rains have helped out there, although the snowpack won't melt till May, June, July. And if they look at stream flow to determine drought, we won't see the improvement until then. Anyhow, cool in the east, high pressure centered right around here, moving off the coast. A little easterly flow starting to come into Florida, increased moisture there. We have a front storm system in the middle part of the country moving eastward, cold air behind it, so it's more cold air moving into the east, southeast also. So the result will be Florida will be slightly cooler than normal, which will still be pleasant, but other areas will have pretty chilly mornings and still below normal afternoons. And if looking out to the extended, we see that even into next week. So winter, March has actually gone backwards with coming in like a lamb and leaving more like a lion, although we're not really at the end yet, but we don't really see a break into real spring until April, I think. Can't look at the weather map. The servers are down, so matter of fact, this video will be available in a different spot today. Here's the activity. Looks rather unorganized, but it'll become more organized as time goes on. As a matter of fact, if we look at the Storm Prediction Center, they actually have a pretty good chance of severe weather today in this region. So that's a combination of tornado, wind, and hail. A tornado up 10%, which is not as high as it can be, but it's still pretty high. So let's go back to the weather maps, and we'll show you a couple things. Generally, there's that high pressure. As time goes on, by tomorrow morning, this high moves off. If it would just stay there, we'd have some nice warm conditions in the east, but it's not. This cold air is filtering southward. There is precipitation with this front, move through the southeast, and it will kind of hold together across Florida as another low pressure tries to form. But here's that big cold high, and by Saturday morning, Monday morning, it's going to be darn chilly, below freezing again through a good part of the south. Let's take a look at the thermodynamic contours. So freezing line through there on Sunday morning, and Monday morning actually going down to the Gulf Coast. So that's what I mean. Spring is far behind in a distant rearview mirror at this time, some of that warm weather we had. But as that cold air moves across, easterly flow into Florida, low pressure, fair amount of precipitation could fall. And then there's another system that moves through here on Tuesday. And this is the one that yesterday showed very strong in the Northeast Gulf. It doesn't do that anymore. It shows it strengthening offshore. And as far as any chances of snowstorms in New England or the Northeast, it is moving off to the east. So we think we're out of the cold weather, but what do you know? Another cold batch comes in on Sunday and Monday of next week. Hopefully it's the last one, but we keep thinking that, and it hasn't shown up yet. And we're way out there, but still, I'm just kind of looking at the extended. This cold air keeps trying to come down, and it might be that the one next week is the last really strong one. Precipitation looks like this, and this is from a number of systems, and this is, I think, hard to predict because of these different low pressures, how they form. But generally, Florida will see some rain, some areas more than others. The West Coast is still active, and then the middle part of the country through there. This is the next 7 days. So let's do the drought. And rather than looking at week to week, I think it's more informative if we look several weeks. In this case, we're going to look back about a month or so. So we'll start off slow. This is, you're looking at before early February to now. And Florida, of course, gotten drier. with the drier weather, and that might help a little bit next few days. The middle part of the country has not changed much. A little bit more severity, perhaps in Texas. That's the main change, a little bit better here. Okay, now here comes the West Coast, and I've been preaching we're going to bust the drought. And again, we may not see it totally until the stream flow increases in the spring. But this is before, there's after. Look at California. Just made a huge difference. Look at Nevada. We got rid of the reds. Oregon still has some dry areas. On the other side of the mountains, they can get a ton of rain on the west coast, but it may not make it to the other side of the mountains. Utah. So this area in here has improved tremendously. Anyway, that's what we're talking about. And so at the end of the winter, and they're getting more rains here the next week. The end of the winter, this may not look like the East Coast, and it's hard to do that in the mountains for a lot of reasons. And you're dealing with deserts. It doesn't take much for it to be below normal. Instead of getting 2 inches of rain, they get 1 inch, and all of a sudden it's a severe drought. Here you're dealing with 40, 30, 40, 50 inches of rain. It would take, instead of getting 50 inches, you'd get 25, and then you'd get a severe drought. In any case, that's the improvement over the last month. And if we went back even further, let's go back to the beginning of kind of the water year, which for them is October. We'll go back to November. And now that is from the beginning of the winter till now. Look at that change. So I have to say it, climate activists, I don't want to hear about your perma-drought out west or your perma-drought in Texas a few years ago. You're always going to be areas of drier and wetter than normal. And you can't just keep changing your answer again. Whether it's global cooling, global warming, at this point it's anything that happens, which is just not scientific at all. So we're going to break from tradition just showing bokeh on Sundays. There is an easterly flow starting to come into Florida, so it's you get these clouds. And of course temperatures are still mild. You've got the ocean offshore there, and it is not cold water, it is warm water. Anyhow, that's it for today. You have a good Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow with another update. Take care.